Attention all Australian drivers. In 2026, EV Tech You Know About Driving is about to change from insane fines for phone use to new mandatory car tech that can even call emergency services if you're distracted. Whether you're a learner, a peter, or have been driving for decades, these laws will impact why you are licensed, why you owe you our wallet, and maybe even your life. Stick around because we are breaking down every single change. And if you miss this, you could be in by trouble. Hey everyone, this channel is just my little corner where I share all the latest updates that really matter, like this one about the big 2026 driving law changes. I'll be uploading this topic very soon. So, if you want to stay updated and make sure you don't miss it, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep bringing you the info you need. The Australian government has just announced sweeping changes to driving laws that will come into effect throughout 2026. And every single driver across the country needs to understand exactly what these changes mean for them. Whether you're a learner driver just starting out, a provisional license holder, or someone who has been driving for decades, these new regulations will impact how you drive, how much you could be fined, and even whether you can keep your license. Today, we are breaking down everything you need to know about the new 2026 driving laws in Australia so you can stay informed, stay legal, and most importantly, stay safe on our roads. Let's start with perhaps the most significant change that's causing the biggest conversation across the country right now, and that's the introduction of mandatory advanced driver monitoring systems in all new vehicles sold from January 2026 onwards. This technology uses cameras and sensors built right into your car to monitor driver behavior in real time. The system can detect if you're becoming drowsy, if you're distracted by your phone, or if you're not paying proper attention to the road ahead. When the system detects these dangerous behaviors, it will first give you an audible warning. Then, if the behavior continues, it can actually alert emergency services with your location. Now, some people are worried about privacy concerns with this technology, but the government has been very clear that the data collected stays within your vehicle and is only transmitted to authorities in genuine emergency situations. The goal here isn't to spy on drivers. It's to prevent the thousands of accidents that happen every year because of distracted or drowsy driving. Moving on to something that will affect millions of Australians every single day, and that's the dramatic increase in mobile phone penalties. From July 2026, if you're caught using your mobile phone while driving, you'll be looking at an eye-watering fine of up to $1,200 for a first offence. And that's just in New South Wales. Other states are implementing similar increases. But here's what many drivers don't realise. The new laws have expanded the definition of what counts as mobile phone use. It's not just about holding your phone to your ear anymore. If you're touching your phone for any reason while driving, even if it's mounted on your dashboard, you could be breaking the law. The only exceptions are if you're using it for navigation with a single touch to start the journey or answering a call using proper hands-free technology without touching the device. Even looking at your phone while stopped at traffic lights is now explicitly illegal under the new regulations. The government is also rolling out hundreds of new mobile phone detection cameras across the country that use artificial intelligence to spot drivers using their phones. These cameras can see through your windscreen day or night and can even detect if you're holding your phone in your lap trying to hide it. Another major change coming in 2026 relates to speed limits and how they are enforced, particularly in school zones and residential areas. Starting in March 2026, school zone speed limits will be extended to operate for longer hours, now beginning from 7 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening on school days. This is a significant extension from the current times, and it recognises that many children arrive at school early for breakfast programs or stay late for after-school activities and sports. The penalties for speeding in school zones are also being doubled under the new laws. If you're caught doing even just 10 kilometres over the limit in a school zone, you're looking at a fine of over $600 and 4 demerit points. Get caught doing more than 20 over and you could face an immediate licence suspension on the spot. The message from authorities is crystal clear. There is absolutely zero tolerance for speeding near schools where our most vulnerable road users are present. Residential speed limits are also changing in a big way across many local council areas. From April 2026, the default speed limit in residential streets without posted signs will drop from 50 km/h to 40 km/h. This might not sound like a huge change, but studies have shown that this 10 km reduction can be the difference between life and death in a pedestrian accident. At 50 km/h, a pedestrian hit by a car has only a 30% chance of survival. But at 40 km/h, that survival rate jumps to 70%. So, while some drivers might find this frustrating and feel like it slows down their journey, the evidence shows it will save lives, particularly children playing near roads and elderly pedestrians crossing streets. Now, let's talk about something that affects a huge number of Australian drivers, and that's the new requirements for learner and provisional license holders. From September 2026, all new learner drivers will be required to complete a minimum of 120 hours of supervised driving, which is up from the current 100 hours in most states. But here's the catch. At least 20 of those hours must now be completed in varying weather conditions, including rain, and at least 15 hours must be done at night. The government wants to ensure that young drivers have real-world experience in challenging conditions before they get their license. There's also a new requirement that learners must complete at least 10 hours of driving on freeways and highways with speed limits of 100 km/h or more. This addresses a concern that many driving instructors have raised for years, that new drivers often panic the first time they need to drive on a fast-moving highway because they've never experienced it during their learning phase. For provisional license holders, there are some tough new restrictions coming as well. PLET drivers will now face an extended nighttime driving curfew. P1 drivers will not be allowed to drive between 11 at night and 5 o'clock in the morning except when travelling directly to or from work or educational commitments, and you'll need to carry proof of this with you. The peer passenger restrictions are also being tightened. P1 drivers under the age of 25 will only be allowed to carry one passenger under the age of 21 between the hours of 10 at night and 5 in the morning, down from the current 3 passengers in some states. These restrictions might seem harsh, but the statistics don't lie. The majority of fatal accidents involving young drivers happen late at night with multiple young passengers in the car who can be a distraction. Something that's going to catch a lot of people by surprise is the new drug driving laws that take effect in August 2026. The government is significantly expanding the list of drugs that can be tested for at roadside drug tests. Previously, police could only test for cannabis, methamphetamine, and MDMA. But from August, the tests will also detect cocaine, benzodiazepines, which are common anxiety medications, and certain prescription painkillers, including some opioids. This is really important for anyone taking prescription medication to understand. Even if you have a legitimate prescription from your doctor, if these drugs are detected in your system while you're driving and you cannot prove that they're not affecting your ability to drive safely, you can still be charged. The penalties for drug driving are severe, with first-time offenders facing automatic license suspensions of at least 6 months, fines up to $3,000, and a criminal conviction that goes on your record. If you're taking any prescription medication, you need to have a conversation with your doctor about whether it's safe to drive, and you should always carry your prescription documentation with you in the vehicle. The new laws also introduce much stricter penalties for driving without proper insurance. From May 2026, being caught driving without at least third-party property insurance will result in an immediate fine of $1,000, and your vehicle can be impounded on the spot until you can prove you've obtained insurance. Your car will remain impounded for a minimum of 7 days, and you'll have to pay all the impound fees, which can easily add up to several hundred more. The government is taking this seriously because uninsured drivers cause massive problems when they're involved in accidents, leaving innocent victims without compensation for damage to their vehicles. Another significant change is the introduction of mandatory dashcam requirements for all rideshare and taxi vehicles from February 2026 onwards. These dashcams must record both the road ahead and the interior of the vehicle, and the footage must be stored for a minimum of 30 days. This is designed to protect both drivers and passengers, providing clear evidence in case of disputes, accidents, or criminal activity. While this requirement currently only applies to commercial passenger vehicles, there's already talk of extending it to all drivers in future years. So, it might be worth considering installing a dashcam in your own vehicle now to get ahead of any future requirements and to protect yourself in case of an accident. Traffic light cameras and red light running laws are also getting a major overhaul. From January 2026, running a red light will result in double penalties, meaning $500 and 3 demerit points in most states. But here's something many drivers don't know. The new laws clarify that entering an intersection on an orange light when you could have safely stopped is now treated the same as running a red light. Police and cameras will be enforcing this much more strictly. The general rule is if the light turns orange and you're far enough away that you would need to speed up or maintain an unsafe speed to make it through, you should be stopping. Only proceed through an orange light if stopping would require harsh braking that could cause a rear-end collision. There's also a new focus on trailer and load safety that comes into effect across the country in June 2026. All trailers must now undergo an annual safety inspection by a licensed mechanic, and you must carry proof of this inspection when towing. The penalties for unsecured loads have also increased dramatically. If anything falls from your vehicle or trailer onto the road, you're looking at fines starting at $800. And if that unsecured load causes an accident or injury, you could face criminal charges, including dangerous driving causing death. If the worst happens, the message is simple. If you're carrying anything in your vehicle or towing a trailer, you are responsible for making absolutely certain everything is properly secured before you start driving. For motorcycle riders, there are important changes coming too. From March 2026, all motorcycle riders, regardless of their experience level, must wear approved high-visibility vests or clothing with reflective strips whenever riding. This applies to both day and night riding. The government says this simple change could prevent hundreds of accidents each year where car drivers simply didn't see the motorcycle. There are also new restrictions on lane filtering for motorcycle riders. You can only lane filter at speeds up to 20 km/h, down from 30. And it's now completely banned in school zones at any time during their operating hours. Finally, one of the most controversial changes is the introduction of point-to-point speed cameras on major highways throughout Australia from October 2026. Unlike traditional speed cameras that only measure your speed at one location, point-to-point cameras calculate your average speed over a long distance, sometimes 50 or even 100 kilometers. If your average speed is above the limit, you'll automatically receive a fine in the mail. You can't slow down just for the camera anymore because the system knows exactly how long it should take you to travel between 2 points at the legal speed limit. These cameras are being installed on major routes between cities and in regional areas where speeding has been a persistent problem. So, what should you do to prepare for all these changes? First, make sure you understand which new laws apply to you and when they come into effect throughout 2026. Second, if you're a learner or provisional driver, start planning now for the additional training hours you'll need to complete. Third, if you take any prescription medication, book an appointment with your doctor to discuss whether it affects your driving and what documentation you should carry. Fourth, consider investing in a quality dashcam for your vehicle for your own protection. And finally, just slow down, put your phone away, and focus completely on driving. These new laws might seem strict, but they're all designed with one goal in mind: reducing the road toll and getting everyone home safely. Stay informed, stay legal, and stay safe out there on Australian roads in 2026 and beyond.